Namaste. Welcome to a brief talk about Rudraksha beads. These are very important for the yogi. The yogi is not just some abstract philosopher. The yogi is practical. The yogi is living in this world. And therefore, the yogi has to have an intelligent understanding of material things as much as spiritual things. And everything is in gradation. There's that which is the most material, and those which are lesser and lesser material, and can even be vehicles of subtle energies, especially spiritual energies. And these are various holy objects. What I want to talk about then is Rudraksha beads and their value for the yogi. I've made some notes. Hopefully I won't leave anything out. The first thing is they are sacred. They should be handled very carefully, and they should be handled respectfully. They shouldn't be allowed to fall on the floor. If they do, but try to have it not be. If you need to take them off, don't just shove them in some drawer or something, but put them in a place that's appropriate for something that is valuable. Because monetarily, they may not have a great price, but you can't even estimate the value, actually. Okay, fine. Anandamayi Ma had some very interesting things to say about Rudraksha beads that I've never heard from anyone else. She said that Rudraksha beads amped up your subtle energy bodies and that they affected you on all levels, and that negative actions, negative words actually rebounded in a strong manner and had a stronger negative effect on the person who wore them. This is a very, very important thing. And when she said it, I was amazed. I'd never heard it before. I've never heard it from anyone else. But I believe it's absolutely so. So we're not, you see, nothing is fully material, nothing is fully spiritual, as I've said. And so these things have a dimension to them that we need to take into consideration in dealing with them. So first of all, the person who wears Rudraksha should plan to be living an ethical life and telling the truth and following yama and niyama. If you were to tell a lie, I don't think you'd be struck by lightning and drop dead. I doubt if the beads would suddenly vaporize and not be there any longer, but it's a good idea to be aware of this aspect of them. All right, now, one thing I want to say, let's get the negative talk out of the way. On the internet, you find a lot of websites that sell Rudraksha beads. And there's nothing wrong with selling Rudraksha beads. But these websites are very frequently magic shops. They go on about, oh, if it's a one-faced Rudraksha, this, 2, 3, 4, this will cause you can do better creative writing. This causes you to have acumen in business. This draws good fortune to you. This is nonsense. This is old gypsy witch talk, even if it's supposedly based in India and being spoken by people who should be responsible people. And so, as I say, they go through all that. Now, it's true, the different faceted beads have different effects, but don't make it magical. And they're just dealing with it. Or they have combinations of them. Oh, this will be like If you go in for an interview, they'll be sure and hire you. This is shameful beyond all thought because the very meaning of Rudraksha is eye of Shiva. They're holy. They're not meant for the old fashioned, Old West medicine man type of show. Everything in the world is really divine, but some are more divine than other. And Rudrakshas are extremely, as I say, sacred. Also, Raksha means protection, so it also means protection of Shiva. So this is very precious. This is very sacred. And we should look at it that way. Now, what's a sign of really good? By the way, you can buy fake Rudrakshas. Uh, there was an organization in California that, in all good faith, thought they were selling Rudrakshas to their members. And when I was in India, a friend of mine said, you know, those beads you've got around your neck are fake. They're just seeds. They're not genuine Rudraksha at all. And I have sent word to the headquarters of your organization more than once saying that they are being cheated. Because you see, in certain places where people go on pilgrimage, there'll be religious items for sale, and often it's beads. And I remember in the Hardware Bazaar, they had these strings of beads. I forget, they weren't a lot of money, but they weren't even worth a nickel because they weren't Rudrakshas. They were just some kind of beads that looked similar to Rudrakshas, but had no effect whatsoever. So I want to talk to you about genuine Rudraksha beads. This is an example of a genuine bead. They come in different sizes, but I'm using a larger bead so we'll be able to see. You see how very clearly defined there are these vertical lines. Altogether, you see, there are five. There are all the way one facet Rudraksha beads up to 12 or so. And they're all very different. But the one usually used by the yogis are the five mukha, five-faced beads, you see. And you see how the vertical line is very, very visible, very clear. There are bad quality Rudraksha beads where you can hardly see the line. And they're just not good enough for you to wear. All right, then. Sorry. The size of the bead counts for something. Now, this is pretty large, and I've seen some, about a quarter of an inch, even bigger in diameter. You often see it in India. You see sadhus wearing beads, uh, not of the usual 108, but a smaller number that just say goes around about the middle of the chest or even not quite that much. And there's nothing wrong with those beads, but 108 is the number to receive the most benefit. Everything is done according to measure. Uh, there are medicines that have just a small particle or a small amount of a particular element in them because that's all that's needed, and more may not even be good. So 108 is the optimum. In fact, I wouldn't wear anything but 108 beads. The size is significant also. The smaller the bead, the stronger the magnetism. I have no idea why, but that's what experts say, and I found that to be true. So a mala of beads this size will not be as strong in their effect as those this size. And that is important. We're not superstitious here. We're talking about real stuff. Therefore, and there should be knots between every bead. Because of their magnetic quality, they shouldn't be touched. They could, oh, if you go like that, they touch nobody, I won't blow up. But you see, they're separated. And there must be knots between the beads, quite very definitely. Now, if you get Rudrakshas and they don't have knots, or you have Rudraksha mala and it breaks, don't worry. Nearly every jewelry store has got an employee or someone they know that knots beads for them, especially pearls. And you can give the beads over to them and show them the pattern it should be, how there must be this called the meru, that bead, and they can do it. We've done it plenty of times, and it's just as well. All right, so it needs to be done, and since I've mentioned these qualities, I recommend looking on Amazon to buy. But look very, very carefully at the photos and see that they are genuinely, again, clearly marked, and that they're really like this. You see, there's all this little kind of protuberances and so on, that they're not just kind of, because there are some beads that just almost, they don't have a shape to them. They're inferior beads, they're genuine, but they don't do the job. So look very carefully at those photos. Don't pay attention to what the color may be in the photos because it just may have been the characteristic of what they posted. All right. They should touch the skin. I wanted to show you these beads so I could convey the size and so on, but they should always touch the skin. And it's good to not have them in sight. It's also good to have a little snap. And for heaven's sakes, you don't want somebody to say, oh, let me touch those. Oh, let me see those. No, you alone should touch them. And you shouldn't scream at anybody. But if you need to, step back quickly and say, no, I'm sorry. These beads shouldn't be touched. Okay, well, why? Why are we saying all this? These do this, don't do that, etc. All right. It's what they do. And this is very important for the yogi. They affect the bodily energies. They stabilize, they balance, and they increase the energies of the body. And therefore, they stabilize and increase the energies of the mind. So they have a very beneficial effect, and they have a calming effect, you see. That's what stabilization is. So it's very valuable. Every so often, I take these off. I'll be talking about why a little later. And when I put them back on, I explained to one of the sadhus here, I said, every time I put them back on, I feel like I'm putting back on my best friends because immediately I feel this benefit. Even if you don't feel it, it's all right. It will be happening. So By the way, they cure high blood pressure. In India, medical doctors prescribe Rudraksha malas, 108 beads, with, of course, the Meru, 109 beads, and people put it on, and it alleviates high blood pressure. How it does, I've never heard an explanation, but it isn't that they have, excuse me, the power of lowering blood pressure. Otherwise, a person with low blood pressure wouldn't want to wear them, but they can wear them without any effect. So it's a side effect on a whole other level. Also, which is very important, they act like a lightning rod. Of course, maybe lightning rod doesn't mean anything to you, but um, in earlier days, especially, and out in the country, in rural areas, you would see sticking up from the roof a vertical shaft, sort of like the aerials used to be on older cars. And then there's a metal cable that's going right down the side of the building and it goes into the ground because lightning can, of course, strike buildings, especially buildings that are way out in the open, as they are on farms. So if a lightning force is near, it will strike the antenna and go down, and the energy will be absorbed into the earth, and there'll be no problem. So that's what a lightning rod is. In other words, otherwise, the lightning would strike the house, set it on fire, it would burn down. So they act like a lightning rod. They are a raksha, they are a protection of Shiva. Therefore, negative energies just sort of wandering around in your environment and maybe touching you will be absorbed into the beads, neutralized, and not have any negative effect on you. That is why then you have to cleanse them every so often because they're protecting you, they're absorbing whatever wandering bands of negative energies may be, and maybe some from your own negative feelings and emotions. Maybe they'll help keep you from punching somebody when you're mad at them and you want to. But anyway, they will do this. Therefore, they should be cleansed, and that's done very easily. You take them off and you hold them under a faucet of cold water running over them, and just it doesn't have to be long, a minute or two, and but hold them so that the water is running over all the beads and it's washing away. And then just put them on, let them dry on of their own way, and you're just fine. And you should do this every often. There is no stated time. I just do it when I happen to think about it. But usually 2, 3 months apart. But if you wanted to do just a month apart, that would be perfectly all right. Use your intuition. So, and as I've said, 108 is the right one. And please, you can buy these gooped and fancied up pendants on the internet, which just has a bead this size or a little bit bigger. Well, if you like it, you think it's fun, do it, but it'll have absolutely no effect whatsoever. Now, I've mentioned that wrist malas are very valuable because you need to keep mantra japa in mind. I always have one of these. They're, the number doesn't matter. There are 20 in here. It's just that they're on this kind of elastic, stretchy thing, and they fit over my wrist, you see. So when I'm working, like at the computer, it's just there. But it's there also, I can see it, reminds me. And then I just, do like so, out of sight, maybe when things are going on. I'm watching television, something like that, and it helps to keep the japa going. Therefore, it's very valuable. Please do not use Rudraksha beads for a wrist mala because they can fall on the ground, which is disrespectful. If you didn't notice, you might be eating something as slop on it, or in some way, something of dirt, this or that, could get on them. And again, God won't hate you, but it's a sacred thing. So act that way. See, it says in the Bible, he who would have friends should be himself friendly. So if you want the best effect from the Rudrakshas, treat them, make them your friends. Treat them in a respectful way. So you can get many wrist malas off of Amazon. Very good ones. They have Rudrakshas. Don't get them. That is a misuse. Believe me. I don't say this of my own. I know many yogis. That's some issues. They should be worn next to the skin. There are plenty of people in India who wear them out. They like the great big beads to show I am a yogi, but they're not really a yogi. Otherwise, they would know better, or they would do better, rather than want to impress the people with what they see. So, wood is a good substance. Stone is all right. Ceramic, it doesn't matter. But they can be of any substance at all. And that I hope pretty well is the subject. You can always email me if something new comes up and so on, and that I didn't mention, and I can tell you what I know if I know anything about it. So that's it. I hope you will use Rudrakshas and you will get the benefits because they're very beneficial. In fact, I had noted here what I was going to tell you. Yes, I've overlooked that. Usually they are strung on thread. Silk thread is good, but regular cloth thread is all right with the knots. But you can also string them on metal. And in India, they do this and they become like unbreakable, which is a very good thing. Now, I had taken a Rudraksha mala that actually Ma had given me, and I strung it on what are called eye pins, the kind of things that are used in Catholic rosaries. And I had strung them on these eye pins. I made it rather long, but again, there would be a space between the beads. So they were metal, and believe me, they weren't soft metal. And to close the bead, you had to take pliers. There were special pliers for that to close them. Well, I was in India, and a group of us were riding along the highway. I think we were actually going from Delhi to Haridwar, and driving is not always the least hazardous. And sometimes in India, you get very creative driving on behalf of the people you're with you on the road. This seems to be sort of an oriental um, situation or habit with people. So it's not always the safest, especially if it's just a 2-lane road. So we were going on, and there were some people on the road that they would have done well at a carnival with bumper cars. And they didn't pay much to attention to be right in the lane where they should be, et cetera, et cetera. And this isn't super common, but it happens. And this obviously was the time. And I kind of felt like, this is a little chancy. Suddenly, my beads broke apart in 3 different sections. Not just one bead gave one pin gave way. It just easy. It just sort of went and off it went. So of course I didn't have them to wear for the rest of the trip, but then I fastened them together. So it was obvious, literally, they had taken in the danger vibrations, the energy vibrations, the negative vibrations, and negative atmosphere that were prevailing at that time. By the way, this could even be astrological. So Rudraksha beads are very good for that. When they're negative or inauspicious tides in the subtle energies of your body and of the world around you, and astrologically produced, they also protect against that because Rudraksha, again, protection of Shiva. So, with that footnote, I think I've covered it. And thank you very much. I hope you will use Rudrakshas, and I hope you will use them very well and responsibly, and they will benefit you. So, namaste.